Good evening, everyone. This is Purva Gupta. I'm a research scholar, PhD research scholar in IIT Delhi, India. And I did my master's project from TU Dresden in Germany. So my area of research is permission blockchain and construction contracts. Okay. So background, I think with the previous presentations, we are all aware of smart contracts, smart legal contracts, or intelligent contracts, as Daria said. And these are basically blockchain smart contracts with traditional legal agreements. But my focus is more on the implementation of the smart contracts, as smart contracts alone will not have any as such difference in the construction sector, because the entire contracting system that is there, which includes where smart contracts or legal contracts are a part of that system, that entire contracting system needs to be digitized, and we need a change in that process itself, from the tendering stage to the execution and later on the defect liability period as well. So what I'm working on is an all-encompassing contracting process, which ensures collaboration between various parties, which offers protection of payment by using smart contracts. Then, but it also removes intermediaries. It deals with delays. It deals with recurrent disputes, which can be avoided by using smart contracts. So we are trying to see the potential that if I digitize a smart contract and certain clauses of the contract into smart contract, then how it can help me benefit the construction sector in general. So my focus would be is in my research, my focus is basically on how this can help the construction sector in particular, and less on the legalities, which I think should be left to the lawyers and the software engineers. Now, this is the flowchart. So if we can look at the flow chart, right from the tendering stage, where all I can deploy, use blockchain and the deployment of smart contracts, and from the tendering stage to the creation of blockchain smart contract, to decisions, to deciding on what will be the roles and access of the stakeholders in the contracting system, defining the scope and timeline of the contract, the various contractual conditions and obligations. So all these decision making, which will be before the actual construction of the legal contract, that we need to consider, and how blockchain can help in that decision making as well. Like I can have a contractor database, a real time contractor database that will help me with the pre-bid meetings, and that will help me with deciding on which contractors qualify further for the award of contract. In the same way, I have a pre-execution stage, supply stage, then site execution, and then the final handing over of the contract, wherein everything is linked towards automated payment through smart contracts. But along with that, I have a lot of digitized databases which I'm looking at, which can be created using blockchain. So, well, this is a tender stage. Then I have a flowchart for execution stage, then completion and handover, and then the defect liability period. So here we have that from the preparation of bid document onwards, how I can leverage the use of blockchain technology in construction sector and in making contracting system in general more friendly towards adaptation of intelligent contracts. So here we have a contractor database, which can be used for pre-bid during pre-bid meetings for evaluation. And the contractor database can be updated real time based on the contractor's performances. And then I have, when I float the tender, then I can have a entire file of defining the stakeholders, defining the roles and access of the stakeholders, defining scope and timeline, defining contractual conditions and obligations, which would further form the smart contract later on. Then I have a blockchain network. Here I'm looking at a permission network. So my work is mainly focused on Hyperledger Fabric. I have Then after the deployment of the smart contract, what I'm looking at is that there can be a dispute resolution mechanism which takes input from the smart contract. And then I want to look at the disputes that arise because of the usage of smart contract. So there are two parts. Like one is that there are disputes that are already there in which I can resolve with smart contracts. And there would be definitely a lot of new disputes that would be arising when I'm using an automated technology. So those disputes I need to speculate from before on, and then look into how they can be resolved later on using a dispute resolution mechanism. Further, again, in the execution stage also, where we have site execution and then we have subcontractor approvals, we have vendor approvals, we have mobilization of resources that are needed during site execution, and all these are part of the contracting process. Because after each and every step that happens, the contract executes the payment for that, the contract updates the schedule for that, and the contract is supposed to be updated once a design submission happens, a document submission happens. Everything I'm linking back to the smart contract so that it gets updated in the ledger, and I am able to have databases based on that, so that I can have a subcontractor and vendor database which would be helpful for the contractor. I can have a database wherein I have a checklist that at the end of the project, when I'm doing the handing over of the project to the employer, then what all verifications and checks that can be done. So based on that, I can have a database on that. And then during the defect liability period, for how long the defect liability period will be, and then can the client make a contractual obligation for the contractor in terms of the rectification of all the defects. So throughout the life cycle of the entire process, how I can use blockchain is the area. I'm using Hyperledger as Fabric as a tool. And in Hyperledger Fabric, this is the model that I'm looking at, that I have prepared for, wherein these peers are basically contractors and clients, and how I can use separate data, like how can I ensure permissions and data privacy as well, because the contractor wouldn't want the subcontractor rates to be known to the main to the client or the consultant, or the various vendor rates, and there would be competing subcontractors. So that data can be given through channels on a private basis, and still they can all be on the network and they can all be updated about what is happening in the project. So this is basically what I'm looking at in my project right now. Thank you.